Hi and good evening. My name is Rosalia. Welcome to the Bible Lounge. This is Daniel 1st, 2026. We are looking at consistency. We are on day 8. This is the second week, the beginning of second week. I'm recording this at night, so we have already begun. And I want us to look at Daniel chapter 6, verse 6 to 9. And then we look at Acts chapter 5, 29. And the topic of today is faith tested in authority. That is what we want to look at. And so looking at week 2, we are actually looking consistency under pressure. So the whole week, as much as we'll have different topics, all of them will be anchored. When can we be consistent and when we are facing pressure? Also, another thing is that we should keep our minds open is that true consistency is what is revealed in trials. That is when you get to see how consistent are you. So day 8 ushers in a new week. It ushers in a new hope, and that we can start beginning to see, okay, we began week 1 with consistency. That consistency begins with conviction and not convenience. We began with that, the foundations of consistency. And now we are looking at consistency being, how do you continue to be consistent even when you're still encountering trials or you're still encountering opposition? Still looking at Daniel. Let us read Daniel 6, chapter 6, verses 2 9. It says, so the administration and satraps went as a group to the king and said, may King Darius live forever. The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce a decree that anyone who prays to any other god or human being during the next 30 days, except you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the den of lions. Now, your majesty, issue a decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered in accordance to the law of Medes and Persia, which cannot be repealed. So the king put the decree in writing. Let us look at what Acts chapter 5 verse 29 says. Peter and the other disciples responded, we must obey God rather than human beings. I was looking at the law of Persian and Medes, it not being irreversible, and I was trying to see what are the other examples. I remembered there was one during King Esther, and so, and looking at them, they are quite a number. I got I think 5, and there was a decree that was issued by King Ahasuerus, decree concerning King Vashti. This was when King Vashti has disobeyed the king, and then he offered a command saying that King Vashti should no more come before the king Ahasuerus. Yes. So he was actually removing the Queen Vashti from power after being disobedient. Then that law was issued. Another law is Haman's decree to destroy Jews. You'll find it in Esther chapter 3 verses 12 to 15, whereby Haman asked the king, it was through incitement, and he wrote a decree and sealed it that he would on a particular date, I think it was the 13th month, they would slaughter Jews and so, and it was sealed under king's signet, making it legally binding and irreversible. And so there were quite a number of them. I think I found 5. There is Esther chapter 1 verse 19, that is the one of removal of Queen Vashti, that is by King Ahasuerus. I'm bad with spellings. Then this is the husband to Esther later. Then Esther chapter 3 verses 12 to 15, the destruction of Jews. And then chapter 8 verses 8, a legal principle which is now was stated. And then where we are now, we are looking at today is Daniel chapter 6 verse 9 to 9, chapter 6 verses 6 to 9, whereby King Darius issues a decree in prohibition of prayer. And Ezra chapter 6 verse 8 to 12, you'll find also under King Darius he issues a decree under temple support. So if you have time, go through them so that you'll be able to see what all these things were being taught during this time. So when you go back to Daniel, and when you look about this whole issue of him, by the time this law was being issued, is that Daniel, before, is it yesterday? No, the day before yesterday, when you looked at the pattern of prayer, Daniel chapter 6, verses 1 to 5, it talked about how these men looked for something to pin down Daniel. They looked for something. They didn't find anything. This man was clean. They didn't find any corrupt file on him. They didn't find anything that was distorting, that he should not be made, because of being made officials, and he was supposed to be made an administrator over all, and they didn't want that, so they were opposing Daniel, and they were finding something. They were busy looking for something they didn't, and so because they did not find something on Daniel, this man came up with something that is will pin him down, and the only way they could pin him down, it is through his God. And so they asked the king, they tricked the king Darius into signing a revocable decree, making it a capital offense, whereby if you're found with this offense, you'll be thrown into lions den. And so it was to last for 30 days. One should not pray to any other god or human being, but just the king. And the king this time is King Darius. And so they knew Daniel will defile this, because he will definitely pray to his God. He had a relationship with God. He had a track with God. They knew he was not going to fail. He will definitely be found in this mistake. And so once that decree was signed, tomorrow we'll see how Daniel is thrown into the lion's den and everything. But seeing that his faith was tested by authority, this brings us that in our mind, that we may be able to see that these people had a plot. They had something on Daniel, and they knew he would definitely go and pray. He used to pray 3 times a day, and they knew once this decree had been issued, they have something to bring Daniel down with. And so the only way they could get to Daniel is through his God. I don't know how people are getting to you. Is it through your God or through your own abilities? And so the principle in these 2 scriptures, because later we also see Acts, the same thing is happening, that Apostle Peter and John were arrested for preaching the gospel and defiling the Sanhedrin's order to stop. That is, they were asked to stop, to cease preaching, and they continued. And that declaration, the famous declaration by Peter, whereby he says we must obey God rather than human beings, this was an inspiration to other disciples of Christ who were being also facing opposition, that they should not speak about God. And so when we look at these 2 particular scriptures, it doesn't matter the kind of tension we get from human law, or rather civil authority, and that may cause us to kind of defile who God is, or go against his divine commandments. Then a situation presents a test, that is obeying the king and denying God, or to obey God and face death. So what are you choosing today? Sometimes we might go to the things that are easy, but I can tell you through this particular scripture that we're reading today, it is better to obey Yahweh over man. It is better. We can see through the testament of Daniel that yes, he obeyed God. He did not go against God, and what God did he do in the time? We'll look more tomorrow. The lions could not eat him up. They are they could not eat Daniel. He stayed with the lions until when he was brought up. So this is a clear principle given to us, that when human law conflicts with God's will, obedience takes precedence, even if it costs you, even if it's a personal cost. So Daniel's steadfast faith, even before the decree, and these apostles, Peter, bold stance, all of these 2 scriptures give us, they show us a commitment to God above any earthly rulers, because we know the cornerstone of our faith is Jesus Christ. Even though we are facing persecution, we look upon Christ. So today, I want all of us to be encouraged that we must obey God rather than human beings. Shalom and have a wonderful night. Bye bye.